So last time we started this new book, the Book of Yoga, and it starts with Savitri's marriage journey, accompanied by her parents and a big escort. They travel all the way from Madra to this borderlands of Shalva, to the forests, to the place where she had first met Satyavan. We read about it back in Book 5. Arrived in that rough-hewn homestead, they gave, questioning no more the strangeness of her fate, their pride and loved one to the great blind king, a regal pillar of fallen mightiness, and the stately, careworn woman, once a queen, who now hoped nothing for herself from life, but all things only hoped for her one child, calling on that single head from partial fate all joy of earth, all heaven's beatitude. Adoring wisdom and beauty like a young god's, she saw him loved by heaven as by herself. She rejoiced in his brightness and believed in his fate, and knew not of the evil drawing near. Lingering some days upon the forest verge, like men who lengthen out departure's pain, unwilling to separate sorrowful clinging hands, unwilling to see for the last time a face, heavy with the sorrow of a coming day, and wondering at the carelessness of fate, who breaks with idle hands her supreme works. They parted from her with pain-fraught, burdened hearts, as, forced by inescapable fate, we part from one whom we shall never see again. Driven by the singularity of her fate, helpless against the choice of Savitri's heart, they left her to her rapture and her doom in the tremendous forest's savage charge. All put behind her that was once her life, all welcomed that henceforth was his and hers, she abode with Satyavan in the wild woods. Priceless she deemed her joy, so close to death. Apart with love, she lived for love alone. As if self-poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time. a statue of passion and invincible force, an absolutism of sweet, imperious will, a tranquility and a violence of the gods, indomitable and immutable. You'll begin, Suresh.
Are you in the rough,
Hewn, rough hewn.
homestead they gave, questioning no more the strangeness of their fate, their trade and love one to the great blind king, a real pillar of fallen mightiness, and the stately careworn woman once a queen, who now hoped nothing for herself from life, but all things only hope for her one child, calling on that single head from partial fate, all joy of earth, all heaven's beatitude.
Thank you. So they have traveled a long way. Nowadays, in our terms, it's from the hills of nearly Afghanistan down into the plains and along the plains and the western borderlands of Nepal. So quite a long journey from Madra to Shalva. And they've reached the forest where Savitri first met Satyavan, and they've come to the hermitage, which she has never entered before. Satyavan showed it to her from a distance, but she hasn't been there before. So she comes along with her mother and her father and this huge retinue of people, and they arrive in that rough-hewn homestead. So it hasn't been put together with fine carpentry or anything like that. The supports of the houses have been cut with an axe, and then it's been put together with leaves and thatch. It's a rough-hewn homestead, a kind of compound where people live. So King Dyumatsena is living there with his wife and son, and there are a few hermits also living in the area. So they've arrived in that rough-hewn homestead, and there they hand over Savitri to Dyumatsena and his queen. Her parents hand her over. She will belong now to Satyavan's family. And they've given up questioning the strangeness of Savitri's fate. Narad had told them, just let it be, let her go the way that she has chosen. So they hand over their pride, the one that they've been so proud of, this wonderful daughter, this loved one, that they've loved her so much. They hand her over to that great blind king. Satyavan's father is blind, and that is why he is no longer ruling his kingdom. He has been exiled from his kingdom. In those ancient days, one wasn't allowed to be a ruler unless one was perfect and strong and not impaired in any way. So, and there's been some kind of an insurrection and he had to leave his city. So now he's a regal pillar of fallen mightiness. He's no longer a king. He's living like a hermit in the forest, but he's still tall and straight. He still looks royal, even though he's no longer a king. And his queen, too, is described as stately. She also has a queenly bearing. But now she is a careworn woman. She has to look after her blind husband, her growing son, in that forest setting, without lots of servants to help her, to make do, to look after them. She's become careworn, worn with anxiety and trouble. Once she was a queen, but now she's not hoping for anything for herself from life. All her hopes are for her son, for her only child, Satyavan. And she's praying all the time to the higher powers to pour down on him all joy of earth and all the blessings of heaven. That's what she wishes for this wonderful son of hers. So we'll read on, Berbel.
4, 6, 7, 8.
Adoring wisdom and beauty like a young voice, she saw him loved by heaven as by herself. She rejoiced in his brightness and believed in his fate, and knew not of the evil drawing near.
Yes, so Savitri's parents know, but they haven't told anybody else, and they are not going to tell Satyavan's parents either. So his mother is hoping for a wonderful fate for him, and she, like all mothers, she thinks her son is the most wonderful person in the world, but she has reason to think that. He is so full of wisdom, he's so handsome, he's so strong, he's so pure and bright. She just adores him. She sees him in the flower of his youth, and she feels that heaven, the higher powers, love him just as much as she loves him herself. So she rejoices in that brightness of his and believes that he will have a high fate. And she doesn't know anything about the evil that is drawing near. It has been prophesied that he must die in 12 months' time.
Rejoiced to be rejoiced.
To rejoice. It has to do with joy, to be happy. She feels joyful.
Lingering some days upon the forest world, like men who lengthen out departure's pain, unwilling to separate sorrowful clinging hands, unwilling to see for the last time a pain, heavy with the sorrow of a coming day, and wondering at the carelessness of fate, who breaks with idle hands her supreme earth. They parted from her with pain-fraught, burdened heart, as forced by inescapable fate we part from one whom we shall never see again.
Yeah, let's pause there. Lingering. they don't leave immediately. They stay for some time. If you're in a very, very nice place, you will like to stay there. You won't be in a hurry to go away. Or if you have to go to something which you don't really look forward to, then you may linger. You're not in a hurry to go there. This whole marriage party, all the people who have come with her, they linger some days in this area, along the edge of the forest. It's as if they are lengthening out the pain of departure, of separating. They are unwilling to separate, sorrowful, clinging hands. Probably some of the handmaids and the friends from the palace have come, Savitri's close friends. They don't want to part from her. Her mother doesn't want to part from her. So they're clinging on, holding on, feeling very sad that they are going to have to separate. Especially because they feel that it will be the last time that they will see her. Unwilling to see for the last time a face. And of course her father and mother, they feel very sad about this day which is going to come, which they know about, when Satyavan will die and Savitri is going to be left a widow. So they feel very heavy with sorrow of a coming day. And they wonder, there's this power of fate. Why is she so careless to break her supreme works? She's made this wonderful young man and this lovely princess, and now she's brought them together, and now she's going to separate them. Why? Fate breaks with idle hands, just carelessly, without being careful. She breaks her supreme works. So feeling all that sadness and that puzzlement, why it should be like that, they parted from her, from Savitri. Their hearts are heavy, pain fraught, full of pain, burdened. It's a heavy load of pain that they have to carry. They are forced by inescapable fate to part, to say goodbye to somebody that we shall never see again. Mahalingam.
Driven by the singularity of her faith, helpless against the choice of Savitri's heart, they left her to her rapture and her doom. The tremendous forest savage charge.
So they are driven, they can't help. Their lives and their actions and their feelings are determined by Savitri's fate. The singularity, the uniqueness of her fate. And they are helpless because she has chosen this fate. They can't do anything about her choice. No? So they have to go away and leave her to her rapture, that intense delight and happiness that she feels to be united with Satyavan, and her doom, that bad fate, that painful fate which is waiting for her. And they leave her there in the forest, in the tremendous forests, savage charge. If you leave somebody in somebody else's charge, you expect that person to take care, to protect, to look after. So who is going to look after Savitri now? All these trees, this wilderness. They are going back to their palace and they are leaving her there in the forest. Do you like to read?
All put behind her that once was of her life, and all welcome that henceforth was his and hers. She abode with Shraddhavan in the wild woods. Priceless, she deemed her joy so close to death. Apart with love, she lived for love alone.
Thank you. Pause there at the end of the sentence. So she's put everything behind her that was once her life. The life in the palace, the life with her family, her companions. That is all behind her. And she's welcoming everything that will, in the future, henceforth, from now on, henceforth. It means from here onwards, from this point of time. Everything that will be his and hers, her life and Satyavan's life together. So Savitri abode, she remained with Satyavan in the wild woods. And she feels that her joy, the joy that she's feeling now, so close to death, is something priceless, something so precious. Nobody can say how precious it is. Priceless. So there she is, secluded in the forest, apart with love. She lived for love alone. That is her life now. Joel.
As if self-poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time, a statue of passion and invincible force, an absolutism of sweet, imperious will, a tranquility and a violence of the gods, indomitable and immutable.
So there's Savitri, the princess, the human Savitri. But watching over her is her spirit, her immobile spirit, unmoving, firm, fixed. That immobile spirit is watching the haste of time. Our human time seems to pass so quickly, moment after moment after moment. But it's as if her spirit is standing above time, watching. That spirit is like a statue, but a statue of passion, of intensity of feeling, and force, strength, invincible strength, strength that cannot be defeated. She has this will, powerful will. There's an absolutism of it. This is a word that we use for a tyrant or a despot, absolutism. But she has this firmness of will, of a great ruler. It is sweet, and at the same time it is imperious, commanding. What it decides has to be done. And another great characteristic of her spirit is this tranquility, the calm, the deep, steady calm, and at the same time the violence, the intensity, the force of divine beings. It is indomitable, that's like invincible, It can't be dominated, it can't be conquered by anything, and it is immutable, unchanging. So that spirit is watching over her as she begins her life with Satyavan. Susanna, you like to read?
At first, to her beneath the sapphire-hid heavens, the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream, an altar of the summer's splendor and fire, a sky-topped, flower-hung palace of the gods, and all its scenes a smile on rapturous lips, and all its voices birds of happiness.
Thank you. So this was her first experience, that everything looks so beautiful to her. A gorgeous dream under these blue heavens. Sapphire is a beautiful blue stone, no? But it's also the color sapphire. This sylvan solitude. Sylvan means having to do with trees. Sylvan solitude, this solitude amidst the trees of the forest. So that sylvan solitude where she's living, this loneliness in the forest, seems like an altar on which there's an offering being made. The summer is offering its splendor, its brilliance, and its fire. Not just the heat of the summer, the intensity and the fire in the sense of aspiration being offered. And it's also like a palace. She has come from a palace. This is a different kind of palace, a palace of the gods, with the sky for its roof and hung with flowers. And all the scenes of that sylvan solitude are like a smile on the lips of intense happiness. And all the voices, of course, in the forest there are many voices, the birds and the animals. All those voices are like poets, bards, poets of happiness, as if they are singing to celebrate her happiness there in the forest. Leila.
There was a chanting in the casual wind. There was a glory in the least sunbeam. Night was a
Chrysoprase.
thank you, under the clouds, a nestling darkness or a moonlit deep. Day was a purple pageant and hymn, a wave of laughter of light from moon to.
Yes. So after the bards, he mentions a chanting, the singing in the casual wind. Even the wind seems to carry some sacred song. And in the least little sunbeam, it seems to be glowing with glory. Night was a chrysoprase on velvet cloth. Chrysoprase is a glowing golden colored gemstone. So perhaps it recalls the moon, the golden moon on a dark velvet cloth, the night sky. And either night with a nestling darkness, some kind of comfortable darkness that you can sink into and feel very comfortable, or It's a deep, mysterious place or time lit by the moon. And the day, in contrast, is a purple pageant. A pageant is a passing show, no? And purple, of course, is a color, an intense color. Here it suggests richness, you know, and a hymn, along with that pageant, that moving of the hours and the rich, intense color. There's also a hymn, a sacred song. And there's a wave of laughter from the morning to the evening, of happy laughter, the laughter of light. Alice?
His absence was a dream of memory. His presence was the empire of a god, a fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past, a rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning two bodies in one flame.
Yes. So his absence, Satyavan's absence, he has to go off and work. He has to get water for his parents, he has to help his father, he has to go into the forest and get wood for the altar and the kitchen, we are told. No? So he's not always with her throughout the day. But when he's absent, she feels him, this dream of memory. He's not very far away. He's living in her memory. And when he's with her, it's like the empire of a god. Then he rules her whole being like a divinity. So their experience of the two of them together is a fusing. Fusing is when you melt two things so that they become one. Fusing of the joys of earth, the material joys, the delight of being in the forest, the delight of embracing each other, and heaven, the higher joys. So this time for her is a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture. A blaze is an intensely burning fire. Rapture we already had a couple of times, this intense delight. And nuptials is a marriage ceremony, coming together of two people in marriage. So that's what they are doing. They are just newly married young people. And that takes the form of a rushing of two spirits to be one. They fuse together in oneness, and a burning of two bodies in one flame, the flame of their passion. Ganga Lakshmi?
Open were gates of comfortable bliss. Two lives.
Two lives.
Two lives were locked within and not within. And faith and grief fled from that fiery fire.
Yes. So this is the first experience, this opening of gates, doorways of unforgettable bliss. And for that time, two lives, Savitri's life and Satyavan's life, they are locked together within an earthly heaven. They are here on the earth, but they feel it is a heavenly bliss they're enjoying. And that's a fiery hour, an hour of passion and intensity and rapture. And all thoughts about fate and grief run away from that hour. They are not present at all during that time. Sergei.
But soon now fade with summer's ardent breath, and trumps of blue-black clouds crept through the sky, and reflect sobbing over the dripping leaves, and storm because the forest tightened west.
Yes, so they arrived in the middle of summer, or even late summer. I think the absolute midsummer was the day that Narad gave the prophecy. So time has passed since then, and now the summer is coming to an end. Soon now failed that ardent, that passionate, intense, hot breath of the summer. And instead clouds are coming, throngs of them, crowds of blue, black clouds crept through the sky, and it starts to rain. And that rain is like somebody weeping, sobbing over the dripping leaves. And of course, in a forest, when wind and rain and storm come, there's a lot of noise. Storm became the forest's titan voice, superhuman, powerful voice. Gumsun.
Then, listening to the thunder's utter crash, and the fugitive pattering footsteps over the showers, and the long, unsatisfied panting of the wind, and thorough motoring in the second backseat
In the
night.
sound-vexed night.
In the sound backseat night, the grip of all the world came near to her.
Yeah, read the next line.
Night's darkness seemed her future's ominous face.
Yes. So when she hears that powerful crash of thunder, fatal, of course the lightning can kill people, no? And she hears this fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers as if they are running away, things are running away. Pattering is the sound that the raindrops make on the leaves, no? And she hears the wind, there's this panting of the wind, deep breathing. It goes on and on and on, and it seems to be never satisfied. And she seems to hear sorrow, unhappiness, muttering in the night, the sound-vexed night. To be vexed means to be troubled, to be annoyed. No? The night is disturbed by all these noises. Then suddenly, the grief of all the world came near to her. She becomes aware for the first time of all the sorrow that is in the world. And the darkness of the night seems to be an indication or a reflection of her future's ominous face. Ominous means threatening. It's connected with the word omen. An omen is a sign, so something that is ominous. It seems to indicate something bad coming. And of course she knows very well that something bad is coming. So this night is like her future's ominous face.
It's always connected to something bad, huh?
Ominous, yes, yes.
Fugitive meaning?
Fugitive means to be... A fugitive is somebody who is running away. So when she hears the sound of the rain on the leaves, it sounds like feet of people running away. So we can stop there for today. Shall we reread these lines from page 467? Line 74. Arrived in that rough-hewn homestead they gave, questioning no more the strangeness of her fate, their pride and loved one to the great blind king, a regal pillar of fallen mightiness, and the stately careworn woman, once a queen, who now hoped nothing for herself from life, but all things only hoped for her one child, calling on that single head from partial fate all joy of earth, all heaven's beatitude. Adoring wisdom and beauty like a young god's, she saw him loved by heaven as by herself. She rejoiced in his brightness and believed in his fate, and knew not of the evil drawing near. Lingering some days upon the forest verge, like men who lengthen out departure's pain, unwilling to separate sorrowful clinging hands, unwilling to see for the last time a face, heavy with the sorrow of a coming day, and wondering at the carelessness of fate, who breaks with idle hands her supreme works. They parted from her with pain-fraught, burdened hearts, as forced by inescapable fate we part from one whom we shall never see again. Driven by the singularity of her fate, helpless against the choice of Savitri's heart, they left her to her rapture and her doom in the tremendous forest's savage charge. All put behind her that was once her life, all welcomed that henceforth was his and hers. She abode with Satyavan in the wild woods. Priceless she deemed her joy so close to death. Apart with love, she lived for love alone. As if self-poised above the march of days, her immobile spirit watched the haste of time, a statue of passion and invincible force, an absolutism of sweet imperious will, a tranquility and a violence of the gods, indomitable and immutable. At first, to her, beneath the sapphire heavens, the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream, an altar of the summer's splendor and fire, a sky-topped, flower-hung palace of the gods, and all its scenes a smile on rapture's lips, and all its voices bards of happiness. There was a chanting in the casual wind, there was a glory in the least sunbeam. Night was a chrysoprase on velvet cloth, a nestling darkness or a moonlit deep. Day was a purple pageant and a hymn, a wave of the laughter of light from morn to eve. His absence was a dream of memory, his presence was the empire of a god. A fusing of the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture past, a rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning of two bodies in one flame. Opened were gates of unforgettable bliss. Two lives were locked within an earthly heaven, and fate and grief fled from that fiery hour. But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath, and throngs of blue-black clouds crept through the sky, and rain fled sobbing over the dripping leaves, and storm became the forest's titan voice. Then, listening to the thunder's fatal crash and the fugitive pattering footsteps of the showers, and the long unsatisfied panting of the wind, and sorrow muttering in the sound-vexed night, the grief of all the world came near to her. Night's darkness seemed her future's ominous face.